Welcome to the Vigilance Committee. Today we have Blind Justice and Mrs. Justice with us, and we're going to be talking about their body of work and the experiences that they've been going through. Right now, we're going to go ahead and play our intro, and then we'll get started. Here we go. All right. And Blind Justice, should I address you as Blind Justice or first name okay? Or
However you want to, man. It's all good.
all right. All right. Welcome and welcome, Mrs. Justice, as well. I don't even know your first name, so
Fine. You call me Nina or Mrs. Justice or hey you.
okay.
Fine.
Okay. Perfect. So we were just kind of before we came online here, we were going through some of the videos that I was looking at talking about, and the very first one, and I don't even think Mike has seen this one, but this is one that you did 6 years ago. It was your introduction. And so I think I'm going to let them let the video introduce you, because
Okay.
that's kind of what you were doing on that video in the first place. So let me go ahead and present it here.
Who knows what this thing says,
It's a whole different people.
right?
All right, so share the screen. Let's make it big here.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's only 6 minutes and 48 seconds, so we'll just let it go.
Just wanted to speak on kind of the background, like of the name, Blind Justice, to kind of give everybody a little, more information of why we picked this name. But like first off, I'm visually impaired, so mostly blind. So there's that aspect, and I believe in justice, and the term justice can mean fairness or equality or equanimity. So I definitely believe in equanimity and equality for all people, regardless of any form of classification or stratification or grouping that other people, including people themselves, try to put themselves in, or other people put other people in. Doesn't matter, like equality for everyone. But one of the interesting things about, or beautiful things I should say, about being blind is not having some of the obstacles that many other people have when it comes to seeing other people or interacting with other people. So the old phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover," right? And people tend to do that with other people. There are a lot of judgments and biases passed or shared.
Hey, Cliff, do you have that turned up all the way?
Initial.
I do. Can the audience hear it at all, or not at all, or is it something that they can deal with? Maybe turn up their own volume on their stuff. Let's see if we can get an answer.
We can hear it. It just
okay.
It's
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah.
Turn up the volume on your own devices. I know it's going to be a little hard. I've got the volume up all the way on this, so. But I think I think it's important to play this introduction because um, it, I want to see the scales of justice that he talks about here because I think it's pretty important, and I think it shows a lot of wisdom here um, about justice being blind.
Visual encounter, right? Initial glance or first impressions um, from visual perceptions. And I don't have those obstacles anymore. So I can't see if a person is dressed in a suit or has ratty clothes or has unkempt hair or, uh, a long beard or a trimmed beard or, any of those things, right? So it really affords me the opportunity to approach everybody with uh, equanimity, with equality, with a sense of wonder and kind of enjoyment to get to experience another human being and share in conversation and get to know another person um, through the way that they want to present themselves to me, right? However they want to engage in dialogue and share their thoughts or their beliefs or any words that they may have. So there's that aspect, but then the aspect of justice, if you think of the statue Lady Justice, she has the blindfold on, right? And she's holding the scales of justice. And so the reason why she's holding a blindfold is to symbolize that justice is impartial, right? So it doesn't matter, like I just stated, it doesn't matter what group you're affiliated with or what you look like or any of that, right? There's the impartiality. It's supposed to be the justice. I'm trying to prop the camera here. Forgive me if there's any background noise. Because I'm trying to do something with my hands. So I don't know if I'm on screen, hopefully. But the scales, if we look at the scales of justice, right, we have the balancing scale, so like a left and a right. And so this idea of justice being a punitive system is like you have two parties, party A and party B, right? And if party A injures party B, then party B is brought down. And so the scales are unbalanced, right? So a punitive system of justice says, oh, well, to balance the scales, we need to injure party A. So now let's balance the scales that way, right? So they're equal, right? Party A injures party B through theft or assault or any other form of injury, right? And brings them down. And so the punitive system is, oh, the only way we know to balance the scales is to continue to hurt. Let's injure party A and bring it down. Well, there's a better way, or a more healthy way, or a more life-promoting or peaceful way, in my opinion, to balance the scales of justice, right? If party A injures party B, steals from party B, and party B is injured and brought down, there's a disbalance, right? Even if it's the stolen thing, it's more obvious because if it's property or something, then potentially party A has gained more, right? So there's a perception that the scales are even more off balance. Well, we can try to return the property from party A to party B, and that balances it. If that's not an option because it's sold or destroyed or whatever, reused, then it can be replaced with equal value. There we go. There's balancing the scales. Or we just find another way to restore the injuries of party B, right? For it to be working off for party B, like party A, is somebody confronts party A and says, hey, we know that you stole from party B, and party B says you can work and mow the lawn or do whatever jobs, equal amount of labor to compensate for the loss, to balance it up, right? So party A, the engagement with party A is education, is information saying, hey, I don't think you realize that you harmed party B, or if you did, people are aware of it, and we would like you to know we don't appreciate this kind of behavior. It doesn't help you in the long run. It doesn't help humanity. It doesn't help party B, and kind of re-education and encouragement for party A. Not needs to be punitive, right? But hopefully get party A to be involved in the restoration of party B. And so we balance the scales by uplifting humanity, by uplifting all parties involved, rather than one person's injured, oh, we got to injure another party. We continue the cycle until humanity is in a downward destructive state.
I love it. I love that explanation. I think it's very meaningful and powerful. And In our justice system, it should work this way, but unfortunately, I don't believe it is working this way. I think it's much more punitive in every aspect. That's how our justice system seems to be working, is in a pretty negative way. Um, and I think I've got that right as far as the concept is concerned. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that the system is supposed to be restorative. I don't think it was ever set up to be restorative. I think it's always been set up to be punitive. Like, this is an ancient concept of an eye for an eye, you know, even prior to that phrase "eye for an eye," right? It's, you harmed me, I'm going to harm you. This is where you have it. You know, in many parts of the world, they still openly war against a tribe, a neighboring tribe, just because, you know, somebody wandered onto a goat wandered off of my territory into your territory, and then they took it, right? And so now we're going to war with your tribe. Like, it's sad,
Yeah.
but it's, you know, it's
the reality.
Yeah, it's been a part of human history forever, and like, but it doesn't have to be. But the current justice system has been that way from its inception. It's been a punitive system. It's been the only way set up, like, incorporated in law to balance the scales. Like, the civil side of law is kind of an idea of where people can try to get some restorative justice, but that's been dominated by the same crooked people who run the criminal side of the law, the legal system. So,
Yep, I agree. So what should be and what is are not the same, and that's the change that I think the whole community of 1A and constitutionalists and are trying to make these types of changes where it's not punitive and it's more restorative. Um, change the reality. Is I think a huge goal, but I don't know if we can ever achieve it or not. But I think it's a valuable goal to have. That's just my opinion, but I'm right.
yeah, no, I agree. I don't think as far as like widespread systemic change, I don't think we can do it. I don't think it, like, this, the system's not broken, it's fixed.
Yeah, it is. At least according to our government and how things have always been, like you said. They don't think it is a negative view, even though it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
So what we can change, like, as much as we can change anything, is like ourselves, our perspective, and then, you know, start at the smallest denominators, at the localist level you can, is yourself, your orientation to the people around you, to the world around you, and then you can have these discussions with your family and friends, and hopefully that can be like a grassroots thing. But that,
Yeah.
I don't think a systemic change is really something in the cards. I think we have to have a better operating system. We have to update to a better way of thinking. And when we have that upgraded operating system, the old software is not compatible. The old software of a punitive system, right? It won't be compatible with the new way of thinking, and people will just reject it outright. So,
Right. So we have to change society before we can change our systems, basically.
yeah, I mean, I think
Mindset. Yeah.
it's and I wouldn't even say it's change society. That's ultimately what happens. But I think the focus is just self, like, work on self, and then if you embody the ideals and the principles that you espouse and that you have estimated to be a better course for your life and for humanity, and you test that, you constantly test that and update the model, others will take note. Others will either reject that and get encapsulated into the societal norm, you know, because they don't want the burden of responsibility that comes with um, just accountability, self accountability, and knowing what you believe, and being able to explain your positions, or having principles that are um, worked out rather than adopted. So I think that's the vast majority of people, live in the hand-me-down system of, they don't want that burden of figuring out simple responsibilities of how to get food and water, and how to have a flat place between A and B that we call roads. Some just
Right.
simple things that are easy for us to figure out.
And okay, so I know this question probably comes up a lot, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but how did you become blind?
Brain damage, like it's multiple brain injuries.
And what was that from?
I don't remember all the specific injuries. There's a whole handful of them.
But were they from military service, or a car?
Got an echo.
Was it a car accident? Was it how did the injuries?
It was in the military. But,
Okay.
yeah, it was why he was deployed in the military.
Okay.
But
Okay.
first,
All right. So
specific, I'm not sure.
I know that's an uncomfortable question. So it is service related, though. Okay.
Having ag issues is why I sound distracted. I was trying to fix him.
All right, so there is another video that I was talking to you guys about before we came on. It's with the health department at High Point, North Carolina. You guys had you had an issue there where they treated you very badly, and this was 4 years ago. I'm surprised that this one doesn't have a lot more views than it has. It's only got 18,000 views, and it's just so egregious that I think more people need to see this, and so I kind of wanted to show quite a bit of it because it really shows just how. I mean, I have severe tremors, right, and so people will hand me paperwork all the time and say, "Here, fill this out." And I'm like, I'm left-handed, so my left hand's going like this, and it's shaking like crazy, and and they want me to fill out a form, and it's like it's almost like, I mean, they can see, but then they tell you, "Hey, the sign's on the door," and it's like, yeah, great. They can't see the obvious, and so I kind of wanted to point that out in this video.
Another thing with that video, he just went in to ask a question. So he had been into that health department a couple times. The first time there were some hiccups where they didn't understand, like a lot of people, they don't understand what his devices are. He explained that they're assistive devices. He asked to speak to the disability coordinator. Of course, they don't know what that means and didn't have one. But this woman, Leslie, came out and made the accommodation. She said, like, it was, there's a little pushback, but she's like, okay, well, over here is the desk to talk to people. So she actually led Mike to the clerk, the lady at the front, to ask some questions. And so she made the accommodation, right? And so, cool, great. He left. That was fine. He went back after that, a separate incident before the 4th. I believe it was, I don't know the date. It doesn't matter. But it was before this one you're about to play. And there was no problem. Nobody talked to him except for one guy who, again, showed him where the desk was. It was Dougherty. He's actually in this video. Just took Mike over to the desk, talked to the lady, the clerk lady, and then Mike left. They even gave him directions to the next building because Mike was asking about mental health services because the VAs were shut down. This was during COVID, and it was all kinds of stuff. But so she directed him to a different building. When he went over to that building, the building he ended up in was a private facility. And so he came back here on the 4th to find out if that was the building that she was talking about, because they were closed by the time he was done there. If that was the facility he was talking, that the woman was talking about, or if there was something else. So it was going to be a quick in and out.
Because it's the health department is public, right? County, right?
Yeah, the health department is a county
So if they
facility.
gave me directions to mental health, and I go and find out this place that I ended up was private,
Yeah.
then going back to confirm, hey, did I go to the right spot, or is there an actual public? Like, is there one that's affiliated with the public health department?
Right.
And I went to the wrong door, wrong building, or whatever.
Right. So that was it. It was just going to be a quick follow up to confirm that, and obviously it wasn't quick.
And did you ever get an answer? Is there a public mental health facility that they could have referred you to instead of this private one?
I think, well, he did talk to a clerk in this video. Well, I'm not sure if it's on this particular video, but he did talk to her, and she said that no, we don't have anything to do with mental health. It's just the private facility. And
Okay.
so now, whether she was right or not, I don't know, but
Right. Yeah. I mean,
That was her-
incompetence is everywhere. Yeah.
right. So it was her opinion that there wasn't a private one, and that was the correct building. So that would have been the end of it, except for Robeson.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it just goes from there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
So
my
let's
camera's
go
not
ahead.
working. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix it, but carry
No
on.
worries. We'll go ahead and play this video, and I want you guys to stop me wherever you think I should stop if you want to discuss or kind of explain what's going on. But it pretty much is self-explanatory what happens here. Here we go.
February 4th, 2020. We put in a records request for the security footage of the area shortly after the attack back in February, but we have only just now received them at the end of July. The lobby video they gave us was in slow motion, and there are quite a few sections that have been cut out, totaling over 10 minutes of missing footage. I had to increase the security camera speed to 150% in order to get it to match the GoPro footage that we have. I also incorporated the audio from the live stream at the end because Boyce turned off the GoPro and the security cameras don't have audio. Note, when watching or listening to this video, please keep in mind that Mike cannot see to visually identify the people around him or read their body language. So while you may be able to see badges and name tags, Mike does not have that luxury and relies heavily on audio cues and clarification. Also consider that Mike is using his ears as a way to not only hear speaking, but also attempting to tell where people are, what they are doing, how many of them are around him, and so on. Now listen to the sheer amount of words and contradictions that are being thrown at Mike. Can you hear the confusion? On February 4th, 2020, Mike headed over to the Guilford County Health Department in High Point, North Carolina. He was following up on locating mental health services. Mike approached the counter and was attempting to ask the lady where mental health is located when some stranger came over and started giving Mike instructions. Mike asked who he was, but the stranger refused to identify himself.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
All right.
I was here the other day asking about mental health.
You need to leave.
Who are
We
you?
can help you right
You
there.
need to leave.
I don't know who you are. I'm talking to this lady here.
You need to leave.
No, but
So-
you have to answer
You have to
to
do what I
him,
tell you. You
okay?
need to leave.
Okay, who are you?
So this was immediate, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, he let's see. Mike came in the building. He went to the bathroom, I think. Stopped to the bathroom, filled up his water bottle, and came straight to the counter because he'd been there twice, so he knew where the counter was at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So there was no interaction with anybody prior to this little. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he just comes up to the window, asks his question, and doesn't even get an answer. She says, "No, you got to talk to this guy," but she's not identifying him either as a security guard or anything. Okay, so
random dude that came over at the window.
right, yeah, it could have come from outside and saying, "Hey, you got to leave," and it's like, "What? Who is
Yeah.
this guy?" You know. Okay, especially
Yeah.
when you can't see him. So we all have to keep that in mind. Oh my God.
Come on outside, I tell you.
No, I don't go with people that I don't know.
I don't talk to people I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And yet you are. And yet you are. It's
Right.
like-
It's like, okay, well then I won't talk to you anymore.
Then I'll talk to her.
But she don't need to talk to you. She don't want to talk to you.
Okay.
Now, how does he know that?
No.
It's like this guy's making a lot of assumptions.
What do you need?
I'm trying to figure out something about services here.
You've been here before.
Uh-huh.
You've asked the same question. All you do, you're harassing her now.
Excuse me?
You're harassing her now. You've been here before.
No, I'm
Asking the
trying.
Same questions.
Because he's there for what, a third time? He's harassing. It's
You got me, man. This guy was crazy.
yeah. Oh my god. And he's just escalating too. He's like
Mhm,
he's being a bully here.
mhm.
How do you know what question I'm asking?
Because I've heard you before.
What question am I asking?
Don't you know?
I know, but you're
Okay.
telling me. You're the one that's telling me that it's the same question, but
I say you've been here before. She's not answering no questions.
okay.
Do you have business here?
Yeah, I'm trying to conduct it. Who are you?
You don't need to know that. You just need to
Okay.
conduct
Well,
the
you can't
business
give
and
people orders unless you identify yourself. So
leave. Yes, I can.
okay. Well, your
You
orders
don't
are
work
invalid.
here. Well, we'll see.
Okay. Can
What kind of service you do?
yeah, I'm just asking about the mental health. I was
Are
here the
you
other day,
recording?
and
He
when,
said what mental health is, it's not in this building.
right, I know I asked that last time,
Uh-huh.
and they directed me to a building, and it was a private company. Is that the only mental
I
health
don't know.
here?
I don't know mental health. I
Okay,
don't know about
so
mental
is
health.
you don't? This is the Department of Health for High Point or for
Yeah,
Guilford?
High Point.
For High
Yeah,
Point.
Yeah, we don't know nothing about mental health. They own their own. They do their own
So
stuff.
you don't have that for?
They're not part of the health department.
Okay, no mental health at all for health department.
No.
All right. What about contraceptives?
You want the pack?
Can we? Or do you just hand them out like
Yeah,
condoms and
okay.
stuff? Yeah, sure.
You got in. We'll give you some, but that's all we got.
All right, cool.
We don't do nothing with mental health.
Yeah, I know they directed me there. I didn't know if it was part of the Department of Health because I got there and they said it's a private company.
It
And-
is.
and
They're not part of us.
Okay.
They've been gone for us for a while.
all right, yeah, that's where I meant to come back and verify I went to the right place. You know, because I.
You did. They're not part of us at all. They're not.
All right.
I'm just kind of curious.
Okay.
Okay.
So all right, so there's no public mental health facilities in this town. Right?
At that point, according to that lady, that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Right. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, and yet they referred you to somebody that you thought you were being referred to a public mental health facility, and they sent you over to a private one, and they didn't
Yeah,
specify.
it's possible. I guess to be as gracious as we can, it's possible that the public health people there at that location would do like an intake, have you meet with just a what is it? It's like a general practitioner,
Mhm.
and they say, okay, well, you would like some mental health care, then they would do a referral to some private company. It's possible that's the system that they have in place, that once you get through, whatever tier
Mm.
screening through the public health system, then some provider would refer you to some private company. It's
But they didn't even
That'd
do
be-
that.
maybe, who knows, right? But I'm just trying to think, like, I agree, it does seem weird that they offer zero mental health care. That's probably not the way that it's set up to be, to be gracious. Like, it's probably something like you have to get in, schedule an appointment, talk to a provider. Provider says, okay, we can refer you somewhere from the public health side, but we don't have any public health mental health providers. We're going to send you to this private provider, but it's a referral from the public health side. So I don't know. That's just my guess.
It's North Carolina, so you may be being too gracious,
That's true.
Yeah.
but it's possible.
Yeah, I think that they just don't want to really answer any of your questions because you've got camera on them. And people, I don't know why people are so freaked out by cameras. It's your way to navigate too. You've got a navigational device on your phone, right? That helps guide you.
There's a handful of different navigational tools they use, and I think on that visit, I don't know if I had live going at the time. Or,
You guys, in this video, there was a spot where he has his phone up in front of the body camera because this video is his actually body camera, the chest mounted. So you see his phone come up in front with it's completely a black screen, and he's messing with it. I
Yeah.
believe that's when he actually flipped to a live stream to try to get eyes on the situation.
right.
Yeah,
So,
because he
yeah,
knew
so that-
something was up. He knew this
so
guy
that-
was being belligerent, whoever
yeah,
he was.
so that function, like using my phone to have live eyes from people that can tell me directly like what's going on, like is this person in a uniform, can you read a name, like that's one of the ways I use the phone. And sometimes I use it through different live platforms, and people that are watching will send me a message directly to the phone, so it's different than in a chat. Sometimes they'll do it FaceTime. Sometimes it'll be My Eyes, which is an app. Sometimes it'll be Ira, Visual Interpretation Services. It just depends on the situation and how much reliability, I guess. And I guess it also depends on the service available, like the Wi-Fi service. And all
I
that.
think a big part of going live to YouTube, especially if you have a situation where you've got angry people around you, is that YouTube stores that video on their servers. So if people steal the phone and steal the GoPro camera, we still have access to that video. Whereas if he's just doing a static recording, we may never get proof of that interaction.
Yeah.
If he's mugged
if it's
on
a
the street,
right.
if
you
it's a
know.
Be My Eyes thing, Be My Eyes doesn't record.
Yeah, so there's a
Ira,
lot
they
of-
may record, but it's hit or miss. Like it's really like if you ask them, and then it's on the individual interpreter if they have space on whatever they're working on to record however long a video, and then how do I get access to it, or how does she get access to it? But the benefit of like YouTube Live or some kind of Facebook Live or whatever would be it's on the server. Anybody can have access to it. It's not just the visual aid aspect of it. It's the PTSD aspect of it. It's the TBI aspect of it. It's like, well, I got all these different people that could come in and advocate by calling this, organization and saying, hey, this guy is he's got multiple disabilities, man. You guys need to chill out. You need to help him out. Like just and tell him, answer his questions, and he'll go. Like treat him like you would anybody else. And
so this is a public service is asking devices issued by the VA, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff I had at the time was issued by the VA. There might be some things that were not, but
it's a different version of an item that was issued by the VA.
Right.
Yeah. Like what works better for you or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah,
All
the VA, the blind rehab centers issue the Bluetooth headset, they issue the glasses, they issue the cane, they issue the phone, the
They issue a
iPhones,
body camera.
Body camera. They issue a whole bunch of things.
A body worn. Yeah.
So
okay. So these are things that you have to have anyway, not just being an auditor or having a YouTube channel. These are things that you have to have in your daily life anyway.
if I leave the house, I have all those basic things.
Otherwise, you've got to be walked everywhere by your wife, and this is a way for you to be independent.
Even if I'm just going, for a little kayak, or something.
Walk around the neighborhood.
Or for a little walk around the neighborhood. I have all those basic things on me.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, let's continue.
Okay.
Are you recording?
Great. Thank you. Who are you?
Is this stranger violating HIPAA by being right next to Mike while he discusses services with the ladies behind the counter? Mike went over and sat down to deposit the bag of contraceptives he was given into his backpack and get his items together to head back outside. The stranger from the counter followed him over and kept talking to him, but still refused to identify himself, and then grabbed Mike's phone, which he uses as one of his assistive devices.
Who are you?
I'm your friend.
My friend. My friends don't just bark orders at me.
Well, sometimes you need orders barked at you.
No,
We all don't do the right thing.
I don't think anybody needs orders barked at them.
Sometimes you do. You have destructive people.
Uh-huh. Yeah, typically, my experience, they wear costumes.
Did he just say sometimes you have destructive people? So,
The guy in
Yeah, he was trying to defend his statement that sometimes people need orders barked at them, and I think he was
Yeah.
trying to build the case that destructive people need orders barked at them.
yeah, he's trying to. He's basically accusing you of being a destructive person, and
Right.
you're you're just a. Oh my god! Yeah,
Dude.
it's egregious what he's doing here. He's being a bully too, and he's being sarcastic and just
I'm your friend, he says. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
Then
Mhm.
leave me alone.
Yeah, he's a friend, all right.
Costumes and carry guns and
Well, that's a costume you got on, isn't it?
what's that? I mean, I guess you can call any article of clothing a costume, but
You know, just sitting there, you look very destructive, Mike. I'm being facetious.
Yeah,
it's like,
What do you mean? What was he talking about for
I don't.
what I was wearing costume?
Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about. That's a costume you've got there, ain't it? Is what Robeson said.
So if you
which we
want
don't
to be
know.
right, if you want to be as generous as you can with interpreting that, it could be any article of clothing or any combination of clothing could be considered a costume, which is the way that that's how I responded was the
Yeah,
most
you did.
generous interpretation that I could think of.
Yep.
The least generous, I would say, would be it's a direct comment on white cane, dark glasses, and then assistive technology.
like it's a costume. Like you're not really blind. You just
Right.
have all this
Right.
stuff.
That would be the
because-
least generous
Yeah.
interpretation, which may actually be what he intended.
Yeah.
Okay.
it doesn't really.
Oh, go ahead, Nikki.
Mike, has the tyrant security guard been identified?
At this point,
This
Nikki, you're echoing. So okay, so he's saying is she was asking is the security guard been identified? And I believe it was Robeson, right?
this man is last name Robeson. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it took a while to get that, but we got it.
so
Yeah,
currently, as we're speaking, like the sound of my voice and this time, whatever I don't know the date, but whatever the time of this live is, like that there has been identification. But the timestamp in the video, no,
Correct.
there's been no
Right.
identification in the video.
Right.
Right.
So Mike in the video does not. Yeah.
He has no idea.
Me
who
watching the
this guy
live
was
stream
at
has
the
no
time.
idea who this.
Because
yeah.
the guy wouldn't identify himself, which
Yeah,
is, I mean, that is that's probably in his policy that he
Well,
identifies. himself.
he is wearing a name tag.
Yeah,
And therefore is identifying himself to every person who is capable of reading his name tag, whether you
exactly.
have vision or not. And so if someone asks him to read the name tag, well, you're wearing it to identify yourself. So then identify yourself for someone who can't see the name tag. Like,
Yeah. And so he's thinking. So I think this security guard really is thinking that you're pretending to be blind, and that's why
So,
he's
yeah,
not.
I think there's more.
he
like,
he
if you-
plays it back either way. He plays it in
Yeah.
a minute. He's going to say, "You can't see me, right?" So
Yeah.
yeah, he makes quite a few different.
It's almost like let's pick on the blind guy.
Oh, it
It's
definitely
basically.
is.
That's.
Yep.
You know, we in school as kids were taught not to do that to people. It's just sick and wrong, and that's not professional at all. I hope this guy has been fired. If not, he should be.
Probably not.
really signify anything, you know? It, so, yeah. So you don't want to tell me who you are? Like, what? I don't know, man. I meet people everywhere. Yeah. That's why if I have a name, maybe it'll help me remember, you know? What's that?
If you meet a lot of people, you're not gonna remember because you only see them in the flash. You're not gonna remember their name. You might be better than me.
I might remember him if
You're not filming.
if it's,
Are you filming me?
what's that?
Are you filming?
Film? Oh, no, we don't use film anymore.
Okay, well, I'm recording.
What's that?
Are you recording?
I'm not sure, actually. I don't know.
You told us that last time.
Uh-huh.
You recorded.
Can you see if it's doing it?
I don't see anything on.
Yeah, I can't see if it's doing it either. So, you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You can't see me.
Yeah. So, you want to tell me
Where
who
you live?
you don't want to tell me who you are?
Where you live? You live in Hawthorne?
Well,
So he doesn't answer your questions, Mike, but he's all about wanting you to answer his.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would anybody answer questions to a random stranger? You have no clue as to who they are, what their status is. You don't even know that this guy's a security guard. He hasn't told you he's a security guard. He hasn't told you anything.
He has,
But
Now you know that he's probably got some authority because even the ladies were telling you got to listen to this guy, but they didn't identify who he was either.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Like, I would say that's an assumption. Like,
Yeah, and
people
why
that-
do you have to assume? You don't have to assume anything.
right? Yeah, people. I mean, it could be her husband, right? It could be somebody
Yeah.
that it could be her pastor. It could be somebody that she believes has authority, and she's like, you need to listen to this guy. He's trying to help you out. It could just be some guy on the street, you know, and he's trying to give me something that fell out of my bag. He followed me and is like, hey man, here's your thing. You know, who knows what she's invoking as why I need to listen to this guy. She doesn't say.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't take that leap with you to say that we have some kind of knowledge this guy has authority on behalf of
Right.
anything.
Right. I mean, yeah, and assuming, you know what assuming is anyway. You don't want to assume. You want to know.
Yeah, but no, yeah, at this point, like you can hear like the bag, like the paper bag, you can hear that getting stowed.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so then at that point, it's like, okay, well, this guy is still hovering over me, and he's been on me since I started trying to get service. So as soon as this guy like gets out of my space, like I'm out of there, you know, like, and then that's really at that point, that's probably what's going on. And then it doesn't let up. It gets worse. So then once it gets worse, then it's like, okay, well, I need to identify you for some kind of complaint.
And it definitely does get worse. I watched this morning again, and it's like, oh man.
I don't understand. Like,
You ask me question, I'm answering you question.
you haven't answered my question. I've been answering yours question.
Who I am?
Yeah, who are
What's
you?
your name? We know your name because they had it on the news the other day.
Oh, really?
You know, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Then why are you asking him his name if you already know his name? You just said, we already know your name. What's your name? It's like, oh, what?
It's like, okay.
Because we
What's
saw
your
you
name?
on YouTube. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like he doesn't like you because you have a YouTube channel. And
Well, I don't know. You know, like there could be any number of things. Like you can hear like the confusion that I had. I'm like trying to
yeah,
hear what he's saying because there's the ladies behind me talking, like the sound of like when I was putting the bag away, he wasn't talking very loud. And then when I was talking, he started talking over me. So I'm like, well, hold on, what are you saying?
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that where I try to answer a question or I engage, but then somebody else starts talking. So I'm like, okay, what? And that's, I don't do well with that. Like my brain just, it jumps track. And so I got to figure out like, okay, what's going on and try to reestablish, like clarify, hey, what is it you're saying? Especially if I don't know if this guy, how bright this guy is. Like, I wouldn't say that he's a mastermind, like planning to do that. Like it just, I don't know, man. It seems to me like listening to this sounds like he's just messing around, you know, like he wants to have some kind of entertainment and that's about it. Like, I don't think
Feel big.
he's like a dog chasing a car. He doesn't know what he's going to do if he catches it, you know?
yeah, he just wants to be a bully. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he's
Yeah.
doing.
It's just something to do, something to engage with. And yeah, he's coming at it from, he perceives he has authority and you know, maybe he's poking and testing to see how much he can get away with because of the blindness.
Yeah.
Okay. But is that, what channel is that on? You a news channel?
You know, I don't know people coming to me. So you see this? You see that?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, they said his name on it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know.
Okay.
I don't pay attention to that.
Some people think they know things and it doesn't mean it's real, you know?
This is true.
Yeah.
You taking a break in here?
Uh,
We close in a little bit.
I know, close it, what, 5? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I had to go bathroom, get some water, and check up on. I thought the mental health was part of the Department of Health because they directed me.
It was about 4 years ago, and they split.
And they split,
Uh-huh.
and then went private sector. Did it, if they just kept the same building and just a private company came in? Yeah. Yeah, because that's once they told me it was a private company, I was like, oh, okay.
Did you see him shrug his shoulders? Like you can actually see that, Mike. He's shrugging. He's using the body language, and obviously you can't see it. It's like,
Well,
man.
so he gave more information, whether it's true or not. Like he was saying that they used to have mental health with the health department. So that's
Yeah, and I
important.
think even the ladies were saying it too, but then they left and went private. The
Sure.
mental part of it. So
Right. So if people don't know this, then that absolutely is newsworthy. And and he actually says, "I know you. You're on the news on YouTube." So, like, he's actually making the First Amendment case for me. He's laying the grounds for.
Yeah.
This is news, and yeah.
Well, yeah, and it is.
I thought that was part of the Department of Health.
You have to leave. You know that, right?
What's that?
You have to leave. You can't we can't have people just kind of sitting around. I like to talk to people.
Uh-huh.
You gotta leave.
Oh, why is that?
Because you don't have official business here. You're taking care of it.
Oh, I do have official business here.
You are taking care of it.
No, I'm working on a news story.
A news story.
Yeah.
What kind of news story you working on?
Yeah. Well, it's all about you now, Robeson. That's what it's turned into.
Right. Right.
Well, identifying where the civil services are at the Department of Health, and you guys helped me verify that the mental health isn't part of that. And then,
You've been to social services.
but yeah, I went to social services, but I didn't get them the whole rundown of everything. Some of the stuff is. What are you doing?
Turn to your camera.
Oh, why?
So you are not filming me.
Oh, please don't touch my things.
Because that's against the law.
What is?
To film me without my permission.
Oh, actually, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
Do you know what law that is? What law is that?
My law.
So he violates the law by moving your camera, and then at the same time tells you you're violating the law because you're filming it.
Did you hear what he
Talk
said?
about projection. Talk about
Did you-
projection.
Did you hear what he said? Mike said, "Oh, really? What law is that?" And Robeson
Yeah.
said, "My law."
Yeah, my law. Like
Mhm.
he is the law.
He
Security
gets to-
guard.
thinks he gets
Some
to do whatever he wants.
Judge Dredd. In the law.
Oh my lord.
Your law. Well, who are you?
You need to leave.
It's actually.
Yeah. So if it's your law, who are you? Because I, if you have that kind of authority and you are the law, I'd really like to know who you are. I mean, I'd like to know too. So Utah Defender. So someone gave him this job and the clown suit that he's wearing. Let me go back over here. And he automatically becomes everybody's daddy and tells people what time they can stay and when they can go. That question mark. Yeah, that's basically what the security guard's doing.
Yeah, I mean,
Brandon, that's
he goes back and forth just in the 2 minutes there, right? He's like, you could stay. Well, I mean, we closed in a little bit. Like, you just want to hang out for a second? Okay, well, that's all right. And then it just flips. It just flips again.
contradicts. Yeah,
Yeah,
continues.
to,
to
"Oh, no, you can't. You got to get out of here." Like, I'm like, well, okay, who are you? Like, I
Right.
won't tell you. Okay, well then, what?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Brendan Mitchell asks, Mike, do you have to rely on the VA? Question mark. Or do you have your own private insurance? Also? Question mark.
Except for the VA,
Kind of-
like for medical stuff. Yeah, I'm enrolled with the VA medical.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know
You
what
want
kind
to
of.
take a stand? What made you want to take a stand? Brandon Mitchell again with the question.
What? Geez.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like what? That's a good question. I don't even
What
know.
makes a duck want to swim? I think that's just what you do. Like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's
especially when
kind of thing is
when you
it's-
see what's coming up here. I'd take a stand too. I'd probably take him the bigger. I probably would have ended up in. I'd have been under the jail because I'd have went off.
Well, yeah,
That's
just,
why
I
I'm
guess
not an auditor.
like stuff like this.
you know, there, like you said, the precursor when you gave the context, like the VA mental health stuff was still shutting down. So there was a personal need that I was there trying to figure out, but also if I had that issue, then likely other veterans and other people may have the same issue. So there was the news aspect, like saying, hey, this stuff's shutting down with the VA, but these services are available here. And so a lot of the stuff on the Blind Justice channel comes from that vein. It isn't necessarily coming from, let's go out and find out what's going on over here, this part of the city. You know, it's, you know, we're trying to buy a house or something. And so like, where are the foreclosures listed? And if they're only listed in person, like at courthouses,
the courthouse,
you know, behind security or whatever, right? So there are things like that we just run into these obstacles and like, okay, well, let's share this journey with people. And this is one of those times where it's in that vein where it is partially a stand for, like, you know, showing the public if these services exist and how to get to them, but also, like, personally, how do I get to them? So
Yeah.
And it's to educate the people that you're interacting with, not just on, you know, for your particular needs, but that people are different. So if someone who is disabled comes in here, they're going to be different than you, security guard, or you, clerk, like, and that's fine.
Right.
You work with people, you figure out how to get them what they need, and you move on. You don't attack them because you don't understand.
It's just like when I walk into a place and they hand me these forms. It's like, I'm sorry, but I can't fill those out because of my tremors. And they're like, well, you know, and you ask them to help you fill it out, and they say, well, no, that's not my job. I don't do that. It's like, okay. So it's like people they don't want to help somebody that's disabled, and I don't get it. I don't understand why. It's like there is real discrimination out there against people with handicaps, that are, you know, have certain disabilities.
Yeah.
So, all right, here we go.
It's illegal.
If you don't have business, you need to.
You touching my camera is actually illegal, sir.
It's illegal for you. No, I didn't damage it.
No, but you touched it without my
Your
permission.
camera, you can't see, right? So your camera's light is in my eyes. So
Oh, the light's on?
your light's on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
All right.
Wait, what? Did Robinson just say the phone's light was shining in his eyes? Do you see a light on the phone?
Let me ask everybody in the chat.
No,
Did you
I
see a
don't
light
see
on the phone?
Thank you, me, for pointing that out.
It's like, oh my God.
Nope. And if you can even watch his face. I don't even think there's any kind of like light that comes across Robison's face at any point. It's
Yeah, he just flat out lied about it.
oh yeah, you can't see,
And
right? Oh yeah.
Since you,
Okay, well, there
yeah,
was a light.
yeah, he had to verify. Now you really can't see, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and lie to you now. It's like, oh.
Well, and like the Citizens Broadcasting Cooperative says, first it was because of his law. Now it was light. Don't understand that.
So then what would make you ever trust anything this man says? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Exactly.
you know, okay, well, this man is not credible. So whatever he's
No.
saying, I don't believe him.
Now if he says he's a security guard, I wouldn't believe him either.
Nope. I'm going to
You
need
know?
some kind of confirmation from something else.
Well, it's from the
Yep.
beginning, right? It's from the beginning part when he's like, you got to go and you're harassing. Okay, well, I'm not harassing. That's not true. Like,
Just kind
you've
of-
been here before. Okay, that
But
part's-
he was. He's projecting everything
Right,
he's
but-
claiming that you're doing. He's actually doing.
But again, like taking it from the stance of I can't see any of these people. So I'm just and if you go back to the introduction like video that you played, and it's like I've got to just go off of what they present to me vocally. So he said, you know, that I'm harassing. Not true. Then he said that I've been there before. Well, that is true. And then he
Okay,
said
one
that I've asked these same questions before.
Mm-mm.
It's like that's not true. And
true.
and then I ask him what questions are they, and he can't answer. So
Right.
he can't. He verifies that that's not true essentially with his lack of answer,
Yeah.
and he tries
Yep.
to So like from the first few seconds of interacting with this guy, he's digging a hole of incredibility. Like he's not a credible person to talk to for
Deception.
information,
Mhm.
right? Like he's implementing deception, like
Yep.
from the first few words out of his mouth towards me.
Mhm.
I think we call it gaslighting, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of gaslighting you. Yeah. All right.
I went to social services, but I didn't get the whole rundown of everything. Some of the stuff is what are you doing?
Turn on your camera.
I don't see one.
Is that better?
Yeah, there's no flash.
So
There's no light.
you don't want to tell me who you are? Because you're like,
Why do you need me?
well, you've been giving me orders or directives, and
You have to get out of here in a minute because we're talking.
and then you just touched my property without my permission.
Well, your property was flashing in my face.
Was it?
Yeah, you didn't have permission to do that, did you?
To do what?
Flash your that.
Is it still flashing?
It's not flashing now, but
Okay.
the light was in my face.
Yeah, I don't think it does that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is the light.
I don't know. All I know there was a liar. Liar. What a liar.
If you listen, he flip flopped again, right? He was saying you got to leave when I called him on grabbing my stuff, and then he said, "Well, we're leaving soon, or we're closing soon, and then you'll have to leave." So it changed. Okay, you
Yep.
can say it's your closing time, but it takes 2 seconds for him to change and give me a different.
Contradict himself.
Yeah, give me a different story. So it's like, what the hell is going on with this guy? Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. He said nice job.
Might have been from here. It was hitting me.
Okay. Well, sorry.
And blinded me.
Yeah, you could have just asked me. You don't have to touch my things without my permission.
Well,
There's a legal term for that. It's called assault.
you a question.
Yeah.
I haven't touched you.
That's an extension of me.
I
Yeah.
haven't touched you.
It's an assistive device. So
You need
And folks, that really is an extension of yourself. They touch the extension of yourself. It is considered assault. In a lot of states, it's that is the law. You touch anybody's property that is attached to them, that is assault. So just want to make sure people are aware of that.
Chris's comment reminded me about the security footage. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that it was that the footage that they sent us, so the county sent us in response to the records request, was edited. And anytime the security footage is not on the screen, it's because I don't have it. They did not send that to us. So there's a few places where there's no security footage, and I don't remember if it was when he grabbed the camera, but I don't think that the footage was there for that either. When Robeson grabbed Mike's camera.
So anytime the security guard's breaking the law, the
I'm not
security
sure, but-
footage. Okay.
If there's no security footage on the video, it's because I didn't have it, not because I just didn't put it there. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
it,
They probably deleted it.
Yeah. Or it magically just happened to be
Oh
Not-
yeah.
in that section.
Pretty coincidentally. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
to leave.
you're telling me to leave again?
Yep.
Okay. Who are you?
Don't you see me?
No.
You can't
Did he
see,
really-
right?
Did he really just ask that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
After
back
he
and forth.
asked
I've been,
before, you can't see me, right?
what was
Okay,
it? Was
there
it maybe
was a flash.
Yeah, so it was maybe 10 seconds from okay, you can stay until we close to you got to leave now, and then maybe less than a minute from when he said,
You can't see me, right? To can't you see me? Like, oh,
yeah,
maybe you need to go find those mental health services. Like, what is going on, dude?
No kidding. Oh my
What the
lord.
heck? Oh,
Pretty good.
Yeah, lots of training. Look at this cane. It's all beat up. It's all beat up. I changed out this ball sometimes once a month. This one I just changed out about a week ago, and it's probably going to need another change in about another week. So lots of practice. But, Department of Health here in High Point is an interesting story to cover, especially if you get some stranger ordering people around in the lobby.
Well, I'm not a stranger. You're the stranger. I work here.
You work here. Okay. Well, if you work
See, that's something he never told him before. When he said
News. This
stranger. Yeah, I mean,
the
you know
deceptive
that
man.
the guy is blind and has been asking this whole time who you are,
Mm.
and now you're just now finally saying, "I work here."
Mm.
How would he know that? You know, it's like, everybody else knows, but why wouldn't you know?
Well,
Can't you see me? Oh my Lord. Ugh. That's got to be frustrating, um, for you, Mike. And this is just it's a small portion of what you go through, going to these government buildings. I mean, there are so many instances of people s- saying things to you that it just doesn't click with people. Um, well, can't you read the sign? Well, no, I guess you can't. Sorry, because if they're not experiencing it, they don't realize what they're saying is like completely stupid. You
And
know.
I would say that would be stupid anytime, whether
Yeah.
someone's
Well,
blind or not, to say, "Can't you read the sign?" To assume that someone can read in and of itself is a pretty big assumption. Like just to
and I get that a lot too with my tremors. People still ask me to fill things out.
hmm
It's like they don't think about it.
Well,
Because it's
so
not happening to them, so they don't understand somebody's disability because they're not going through it themselves.
it's
I
not
mean,
just governmental facilities and governmental agents. It's
no,
people.
it's
It's people
everywhere.
in general. Like there's a
Yeah.
massive lack of just general education on people with disabilities,
Yep.
and
Yep.
how to recognize some that are overt, that are what's the terminology? It's readily apparent, right?
Mhm.
So the white cane is a universal symbol for blindness, like
Hmm.
across like country lines,
Yeah.
So there's that, but then
But they still don't put it together, though. People
well,
just
yeah,
don't put
exactly.
it together.
That like you said, like people don't put themselves in that position, and
Hmm.
if they do, it's from their imagination or from
Yep.
TV, right? It's not from
Yep.
any actual trying to understand the person's position and engaging with the person they have
Asking
in front of
questions.
them, rather than the imagination that they have, or what they have from TV or movies, right? So rather than engaging with the person right in front of them, in good faith, they supplement that with, "Oh my gosh, if it was me, I would be dreadfully afraid, and I couldn't go anywhere without somebody." And
Hmm.
since that's not the case, since you opened a door, you reached and you fell on the
You
doorknob,
found your glass that you
or
put
yeah,
on the
exactly.
counter.
I just picked up my drink. How in the world did I do that?
You're not
well,
blind.
and when I contacted you, um, I did say, would it be easier for us to talk on the phone rather than keep sending emails back and forth?
Yeah.
Um, and I do believe that it does take someone who is in the, I guess, disability community to actually stop and think and use their brain and go, wait a minute, how can I help this person without, seeming like an idiot, like this guy here who says, well, can't you see me?
Yeah. Well, but to push back on like Cliff's thing, it's not specific to governmental agents and governmental buildings.
Right.
It's
No.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. Like we can go into a convenience store and I ask for directions to the bathroom, and I'll get something like, "It's over there." I'm like, "Great."
Yeah. It happens everywhere. Yeah.
So,
It's just like, uh, they hand me a receipt and say, "Can you sign this?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I can put my chicken scratch on it, but I can't really sign my name anymore."
yeah.
It's like when I was in grade school, they taught us that we had a blind person show up and try to explain what being blind was like, and I think I was like 8 years old. It was like third grade. Um, and so the teacher had us all close our eyes, at the end of the class and say, "Now go to the bathroom, but keep your eyes closed." And it's like we're bumping into walls, all kinds of things. I mean, so you got to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes before you really understand, um, what's what's really happening, and
Well, I think it's a
navigate things.
I think that's a good place to start to try to find some empathy, but it can't stop with what I can do when my eyes are closed, right? If I am approaching someone who has a disability and I think, okay, well, what would I do if I didn't have a leg? Oh my gosh, I would never walk. I would never do anything. And here they are with their prosthetic and they're, doing
Running a marathon.
backflips, running a marathon, whatever. And I can't put my perceived limitations on somebody else just because I think that if that's what that disability should look like, right? So while I could close my eyes and walk around the house and I'm going to trip and, do all these things and fumble around, if you deal with somebody who that's how they live life. So
Right.
you think our best bet, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to simply ask, like you asked, would it be easier to do this, or which would you prefer even, would you prefer to talk on the phone or email, or pretty much how we do with anybody. It's just there may be more questions. And
Yeah, because you learn how to acclimate with your disability too. Like your email, you probably got voice to text on your emails when you go to read them, right? You've probably got a device that reads your emails for you out loud, so that you can actually read them that way.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, and people need to ask those types of questions, like. But this guy, he doesn't even bother. He's like,
I would say even a step further than what you just said.
Go ahead, yeah.
That it's not always necessarily directly asking the person, tell me what to do. It's just letting them know I'm available should you need some kind of assistance.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then great. But if you need some extra assistance, you need something, I'm available. Just letting them know that I'm available.
Yeah.
Is probably your best bet to engage with somebody with disability. Like, hey, I'm available to help if you need it. If not, cool.
I guess if
Right.
I'm asking a specific question, I've already made an assumption that this particular
They
thing
need
I'm
help.
offering is
Yeah.
that's true. Just, hey, if you need me,
And that's what I was going
Okay.
to ask was, is it better to say specifically, like I did with the email or the phone call, or is it better to say, let me know what you need and I can help you if needed?
I think it's person to person. For me, I prefer the, hey, I'm available to assist you if you need some kind of extra assistance or whatever. It's circumstance to circumstance. People,
Sure.
I kind of have this joke that blind people and children under the age of 3 are, and yeah, I guess that's about it. And pregnant mothers
Yes.
are this weird category in society where people just assume they can touch without asking or without communicating verbally. They just reach out and touch kids to pet their head, or hold their hand or shake their hand or whatever, or reach over and grab a blind guy and reach over and try to touch a pregnant mommy's tummy, like
Yep.
like so it's it is weird.
learn etiquette, right?
Yeah,
Ask
but
first.
depending on how the touch is, really dictates, and the circumstances really dictates my response, right? If I'm about to fall off a curb into a bus, and somebody grabs me abruptly and pulls me back, like I'll probably be less pissed than if somebody grabs me and jerks me around when there isn't some kind of danger, seconds away
Right.
or part of a second away. If somebody grabs me to try to, assist me doing something, I may say, hold on, can I hold on to you? Like, and people try to grab my cane, or people try to grab my cane arm, cane hand. And I'm like, hold on, it's better if I grab you with my non-cane arm on your shoulder, your tricep area, and you guide me that way. But what are you gonna say?
Right.
Unless you're a little old lady that speaks Spanish in Mexico. We were side story. We were crossing the street. It was like a big intersection. I don't even remember how many lanes. And I've got our little kids and the teenagers are standing here, and he was standing up front on the curb. And this little bitty old lady comes walking past me and grabs his arm. And I asked him later what she said, and she said something like, "They're not going to hit an old woman and a blind man. Let's go." And she just let him out. And I was like, what's happening? It was hilarious. They didn't get hit. The car stopped. Everything was fine. I think that's a rare exception. She wasn't
That's
pulling in
funny.
from danger, but rather,
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, our powers combined. We're gonna get across this section.
Now, did she say it in Spanish and you understood
Yeah.
what she said, or okay?
Yeah, I think so. Because I look up and they're halfway across. I'm like, what just happened? It was pretty funny.
Oh,
Here's a
that's hilarious.
Hmm.
All right, so this thing does get worse, people, and I'm telling you, misunderstandings galore in here because these people are just ignorant of disabilities.
Here, then aren't you supposed to identify to the public? Are you wearing a name tape or anything? You're not? Okay. I can't see it. Can you tell me what it says?
No,
You can't tell me what it says?
you don't have a need to know.
I absolutely do, sir. You actually touched my property without my permission, so that's a crime. If I want to report that crime, I need to know your name.
Now, you were flashing that light in my face, and the glare on that light.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna get into this with you, okay? We close in approximately 10.
Will you at least tell me who you work for? Like, are you sheriff's department
You
or?
need to leave in approximately 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you don't have business here, you need to leave.
So do you work for the sheriff's department or like High Point Police Department or like security guard company? At least tell me who you work for.
You don't need to know that.
Oh, I absolutely do. It's for a few reasons. One, it's part of the news story I'm working on, and two, you violated a few laws and you're still kind of doing it right now.
Mike tried again to find out who this stranger was so he could file a complaint against him for his actions thus far. The stranger still refused. After reviewing the video, I was able to make out Robinson on the stranger's name tag. Mike finished storing his items and stood to find someone else to help him identify the guy that grabbed his things. He went to a different counter and asked the lady there.
Let me find this guy's got a supervisor because this is not cool. We're running out of time here. Sir, are you still over here?
Yep, he's standing there.
So this is High Point, North Carolina, right? High Point, North Carolina. Somebody in the chat was asking.
Yes, that's High Point, North Carolina Health Department. Out the window right across the street there, you can see the courthouse. I believe that is that door all the way across. Oh, who is that standing out there? Huh. Good freeze frame. I think that might be Boyce.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's the guy that throws him down.
One of those light blue uniform, like maybe he's
Just make a note and we'll watch for him.
yeah.
Okay, Patricia
Right at Mike.
Fodor has a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Basically, if you are blind, how can you use a camera? And I think that you guys had said that this was the body cam, not just the phone cam. And yes, I did have to ask because that person has made a few comments.
If it's
Yeah.
the Patricia I'm thinking of, she comes and makes quite a few comments. But I think it's
So the body
Um,
cam was,
go
what
ahead.
was the body cam?
the GoPro.
So GoPro is made wide angle,
Hmm.
like for action shots, you know, so
Mhm.
if you wear it on your chest, you're going to get a wide angled, and yet all you have to do is orient your body, you know,
Like you do
Pretty
in
much-
regular life.
pretty much
just-
180 degrees, and you'll get a big wide angle shot of whatever it is. But as far as like the phone goes, it's on, usually I hold it on a mount, and I know which side my camera is because it tells me my orientation. I can feel it for one, but it also tells me in my headset, you know, orientation, and it even tells me if I'm steady or if I'm if I need to tilt more right or left to get an even shot. It'll give me different feedback of what's in frame. And it really just depends on what application I'm using on the phone. But that one's pretty easy to do based on sound. Like you point it towards sound. Like wherever you hear somebody's over there making noise, you just turn it to where you heard the noise. So you don't need to be able to see, you know, through the, what do they call it?
Viewfinder?
I don't know, whatever the old cameras
That's
used to
old.
have.
Nobody does that
Yeah, you don't
anymore.
need to be able to see through that or see a screen to be able to point something towards sound. Like you can do that as long as you can hear. So.
I can't remember. Was this 4 years ago or 2 years ago?
This was 4 years ago. This is 2020, February 4th, 2020.
Yeah.
And as Another important thing is any video that's edited. So if there's like zooms or centering people, I do that after the fact. So if you think he's like zooming in on people's faces, that's not him, that's me. With these videos, like here it's zoomed in. That was on me. So
Yeah.
just so you know.
So you actually have a voice in your ear when you have that particular device turned on for navigation, right? So it's whatever the camera is seeing, they're telling you in your ear what's there in front of you, right? Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, it's the bone connection headset that I have. So
Okay.
it doesn't block my ears. It sits on your jawbone. You'll get the audio through the bone connects to the ear bone, the malleolus, and trim it.
Yeah, because that was
Right.
another one of Patricia's
vibration.
questions was how do you know where to point the camera? So they're telling you where to point the camera.
Well,
kind
and
of.
I think that's kind of silly too. How do you know where to turn your head when someone's talking before you look at them?
Yeah.
Like you turn toward the noise. So I mean, a lot of these things you can figure out on your own. You don't have to necessarily ask. Just
Well, and yeah,
You know?
here's an obvious answer to this one too. You're
we can
holding a camera on a stick. Why? It's like a stabilizer. It's like a gimbal, right? So if you're shaking, it's the stick it's like a stabilizer, gimbal, correct?
I think it's ease of something to hold on to, but also I can orient and kind of point with my hands. If I'm holding something, I can point with fingers and line up, feeling the orientation of the camera being perpendicular to where I point my fingers, and it's easier to point. And I relatively, get a decent shot of the sounds over there. I'm going to point while holding onto this thing, point fingers.
You can hold your cane with the same hand.
I can hold my cane with the same hand because the stick and the cane I can hold with one hand, and I can even use the cane to help me give me support and stability to.
Yeah, the one you have now actually has a tripod. You can sit it down.
Mm.
So there's lots of reasons.
All right, let's continue here.
Sir? Excuse me. Hi. Do you know who that gentleman was that was talking to me?
Right here.
Oh, thanks. Hi.
May help you outside?
No, do you have a supervisor I can talk to? No supervisor on? Okay. Do you know if there's a building manager or something? All right. Let me find somebody else if you want to be helpful. Hi, are you still there? Do you know if there's like a building manager or a kind of supervisor that can come assist?
Do you want someone in Greensboro probably, but like may have a facilities person here.
Sure, like any kind of supervisory role, like administration, management, or something.
You want to have Steve and I'll call you?
Yeah, because can you tell me this gentleman's name? Like he grabbed my phone, like he tried to get my property, and he's not telling me who he is.
I guess she can or he can. That's between you guys.
Okay, yeah, if you just get an admin person, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, so Mike asked that a supervisor come out to assist him. He simply wanted someone who would tell him this man's name and accept a complaint.
At the health department here in High Point.
So I want to say this too, Mrs. Justice. You tell this story very precisely and concisely, and it all flows together where everybody can watch this themselves and just be completely understanding everything that's going on the way that you have explained it. So I like what you're doing here.
Thanks.
Make that known.
Appreciate it.
Back this way, sir.
What's that?
Oh, back this way.
Oh, she said she's gonna call somebody. So
I'm sorry, who are you looking for?
an administrator or some kind of building manager.
Okay, well, I'm over the building.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you one time to please stop recording right now.
Who are you?
It is posted on the doors. My name is Leslie.
Okay.
It's posted on the doors.
It's posted on the door. You should have seen that when you came in.
Yeah, she's supposedly over the health department wearing skulls all over her sweater.
And she just came in automatically hostile and escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she asked
This-
like who I was looking for, and I said I was trying to find some kind of building manager, supervisor, and rather than say, "Oh, how can I help you?" I'm that person. She jumps in with giving
First of all,
directives.
And
Yeah.
for reference, this is the same woman who made the initial accommodation.
2 visits prior.
2 visits prior.
Wow.
That's the one. She walked him over the
So-
counter, made the accommodation. So
Yeah.
like,
So total opposite. So yeah,
mhm.
total opposite
Also-
attitude now.
You can see who's coming in the door. The guy that
Yep.
was outside, that's Boyce, and he's putting his gloves on.
Yeah, automatically.
Yep.
It's like these guys were probably talking behind the scenes while all this was happening out here, and they had a plan of action of what they were going to do when they came out and in.
Mhm.
It's like coordinated. It seems to me. Now I don't have any proof of that, but it just seems coordinated.
Mhm.
There's no video recording. We have clients here that are
Mhm.
here for medical reasons.
Yeah.
And you're violating their law, their rights.
What right is that?
They're HIPAA violations.
HIPAA. I used to work in the medical field.
Mhm.
So HIPAA only applies to people that work in the medical field or their insurance companies.
Hmm.
They have to follow HIPAA laws. The
Yeah.
general public does not.
Right.
It doesn't apply to them.
Are we?
So-
I know.
Well, yeah. So the, I think you had an edit early on to asking the audience if the guy at the counter was violating HIPAA, and
I did.
It's unknown, right? He
I'm
could
not
have
sure.
been if he was read into HIPAA, like if as a security guard stationed
If
at
he's
this
been
medical-
trained in it, if he's
Right,
been trained in it, yeah.
he's received the
Um,
training and he's read into that, and he's signed something saying that he's going to abide by HIPAA because he's going to be in close proximity to hear patient medical information. Then it could be a HIPAA violation, but likely that's not the case if he's only stationed in the public lobby because
Well, then there's another caveat to that too. Yes, you said public lobby. So if you're out in the public area, HIPAA does not apply. But they are supposed to take you into private areas to protect your identity and your
Right.
personal identifying information, not to ask those types of questions out in the public area. But as far as violating HIPAA, that officer probably was not.
right, because he
violating
probably
HIPAA.
wasn't trained in it, probably wasn't read in on it. So
Yeah,
but-
and you were in a public area too.
right,
So,
so that
you can overhear private
yeah.
information in a public area, and you're not violating HIPAA if they answer a personal identifying question to you in a public area. So anybody that hears it, hears it.
Right.
So, all right, here we go.
Violations.
Oh, you know that HIPAA applies to the medical personnel, not to the public.
Okay, I'm not gonna debate with you.
That's cool. I don't want to debate.
Boyce has only
Yeah, there shouldn't be any debate about that. He's completely right. So why would she even say, "I'm not going to debate with you"? Like he's trying to argue with her or something. It's ridiculous.
It's a typical response. Like you hear it countless videos on YouTube. Whenever typically a government agent says something that's just false and somebody calls it out, the immediate response is, "Oh, I don't want to debate with you. Like I can't
Right.
be held accountable to what I just said. I can't
Yeah.
be fact checked
Yeah.
on the spot. No, that's a debate.
Yeah.
Like no.
I
that's
know
just-
you're right, so we're going to deflect and talk about something else.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
Yeah, typical.
only been in the room for 8 seconds and is already putting on gloves.
hmm
He then positioned himself behind Mike without saying a word.
Can you tell me the name of the gentleman that was over here on my right? He grabbed my property.
This is our security, and this is our security. They're all our
Okay.
security.
Can you tell me the name, please?
I'm not going to, but you feel free to ask them.
Oh, I did. I asked him. He refused to identify himself.
Another guard has entered the lobby. This one is Dougherty. He is also flanking Mike. Why sneak around behind the blind guy?
After violating my my property.
Again,
Okay.
I've asked you to stop
Excuse me.
recording.
Okay, I need you to stop recording and you need
Who are
to
you?
turn that off.
Who are
I'm
you?
Captain Darby.
Captain
Okay.
Darby?
You've been asked to turn the recording device off.
Captain Darby with what organization?
Guilford County Security.
Okay.
You've seen me before.
I haven't seen you.
Okay. So I need you to turn the device off and stop.
You've seen me before. Oh.
It just shows the
Wow.
Recording,
Okay.
or you're gonna have to leave.
This gentleman assaulted me. He grabbed my property without my permission.
I did grab your property. I
Okay.
turned your property away.
So you grab. So he admits.
Flashing in my
So he
face.
admits grabbing it.
We'll take care of that later, but what I need you to do now.
Well,
I need you to turn
how do I
your-
file a complaint or criminal report? About that?
You can file that through Guilford County.
Okay. Is he? Is are you his supervisor?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Can you identify him for me? Because I need a name to go with the complaint or the criminal
You can ask the
complaint.
officer, he'll identify himself.
Can you tell me your name, please?
No.
Okay. So somebody read me the gentleman's name.
You need to turn your recording device off, please.
Okay. I use these as
I've asked-
assistive
I
devices.
understand your
for
assistive devices, but
vehicle
you are
modification.
recording. If you don't turn your devices off, your recording device, not your assistive device.
These are assistive.
That's what it is. Oh, it is so frustrating when people just don't get it. I mean, it's like he doesn't want to get it.
Well, so a lot of people stop at the, and it is in the name of the channel, Blind Justice. People stop at the white cane, the glasses, and they stop at that disability. But there's a handful of disabilities that that are there, that are present. So the TBI is a big one. PTSD is a big one. I have C-spine damage, which is a big one. And some of these are overlapping from like the same sources. But yeah, there is no hit pumping the brakes for these guys. It's just, I'm giving order, you must obey. And not even recognizing what they're even saying themselves, right? They're saying I don't know if she said it at this point, but he said it twice. At least one of the times was while either I was speaking or other people were speaking, but the statement is, it's an ultimatum. It's, if you don't stop using devices, then we will have to ask you to leave. Like
There's multi-steps.
yeah, there's multiple steps there. Like, so there's the if part. It's like, if you don't stop using devices, well, let's address that, because you guys are just assuming that these are just simple recording devices and they're not assisting me in any way with disability. And that's an incorrect assumption.
Right.
So let's address that. Let's clarify that. If we clarify that, then the then part just disappears.
Right.
We couldn't get past the if part, but the then part is interesting in itself, because then we will, as a future tense, we will have to ask you is still like less definitive than we will ask you, right? Like, then we will at that point reassess and then probably decide to ask you to leave. Like, it's how I
ask you to leave.
right.
Still
Not tell you to leave, right? Not order you to leave. Like, so there's multiple lines.
So
of
when they
separation.
say ask, it's just implied. It's an order.
Well, but there's just multiple
it's
lines.
not.
Just in the
Words
then,
mean things. Yeah.
well, just in the then segment of that statement, there's multiple lines of separation, of backing down than a definitive. We will tell you to leave under threat of trespass. Like, that's not a very and they, at this point, none of them have really identified themselves as a person responsible for the property who has the legal authority to do that, right?
Well,
so
and it's public lobby.
yeah,
So long
and
as,
there's a
like,
public
backing it
lobby,
all
and
back
there's
out, so-
State v. Markopolis, which is the North Carolina state precedent that says that people have implied consent to be in public places and public accessible areas, unless they are committing a crime or disrupting the business. So yeah, it's I don't know if you want to stop it before the crazy crap happens.
Yeah, I
but-
think
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
we can do that.
say,
Absolutely.
it-
Yeah.
you
can
know,
do
if
that.
people want to see the rest of it, they can go to Blind Justice's channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's- it's not just us too. I know there's a lot of people in the chat who were there when
Yeah.
it happened in the
Yeah.
live stream. So a lot of
And
people are like,
I've seen it before, and I don't think I want to see it again either. And I saw it again today, and that was it bothered
It's
me
not.
all over again. So yeah.
But I don't know if you want to find the precursor to that, like you just mentioned with Boyce, that came out. That we have his
oh,
his.
yeah, if y'all talk, I'll find it.
There's a video that came out. How do we get that video
It was in court.
in court?
Mm-hmm. It was in the one of the Guilford County. Is it suppression hearing?
Okay.
And the judge ordered that he basically granted, is it Brady?
Mm-hmm.
And ordered that the prosecution play all of the videos that he was planning on playing. And this was one of them. And I don't think the prosecutor had watched it yet because it was Boyce's body camera from, I want to say it was the 30th, and I'll have to find it
So
because
a few days before Boyce is the
Mhm.
security. Boyce is the security guard that gloved up like seconds after
Yeah.
coming.
As soon as
right?
they came in the,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
room. Yep.
Right. So that guy, he has his own body cam, and body camera from a few days before, like at the, where was that one?
It was across the courtyard at the courthouse.
So at the courthouse, not at the health department, at the courthouse, is where his video, where he says something to the effect of, he doesn't want me to leave. He wants me to stick around. He wants somebody to tell me to leave, and that way I would say no, and he can put me in the floor, or something to that effect, is like on his body camera that the prosecutor reluctantly played when ordered to release Brady information. So essentially, it's his premeditation of what he did like a few days later in the health department,
Mm-hmm.
which is he he not only is the assailant, but he is the arresting officer. Like,
So he did plan to do what he was going to do that day. He did plan.
yeah,
always did.
and it was played in court, like to suppress the charges because it was an unlawful arrest. Like, it's like, look, this is
Wow.
like, I was the victim here, and this guy, you have premeditation, like you have his intent to do exactly what he did to me a few days before, and that's what happened. And yeah, so that's, I don't know if you want to find it.
I'm looking
Okay.
for which.
And while you're looking for that, Unqualified Immunity wants to know if you've contacted Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina about this incident. I mean, I understand that there's a court case and everything going on, but did you contact the Lieutenant Governor at
I
any
have
point?
no idea. I think it's been 4 years, but I think we've done, we tried all the branches of government in North Carolina at every level, from the municipal level to the state level, and got nowhere. So got zero checks and balances, zero accountability. Nobody has stepped in to stop. The prosecution is still ongoing of this case. So they charged me with, the goon that threw me to the ground charged me with second-degree trespass and resisting a public officer. So
Why am I not surprised?
yeah, so the go-to charges, right? So those are pending still. Like, they're still pursuing charges. I think the latest in that is they, some judge set a court date, denied my ADA request to access court, and then declared that I refused to show up or something, and then put a bond, put out a warrant for me and put some bond in. I don't know how much it was, like over $10,000 or something. I don't know what it is, for Guilford.
I got that message, Press with Ranker. Thank you.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so
I forgot about.
yeah, who knows what the bond is on that one, but that.
Okay, so Unqualified Immunity, since you know the Lieutenant Governor personally, is there a way that you could contact the Lieutenant Governor and share the story? We can put Blind Justice's email in the chat so that way you guys could contact each other if
Yeah,
that's all right.
That's fine. There's so like their whole case stems on the resisting stems on there being trespassing, right? The trespassing stems on, did I have a right to be there? Well, they're still open, right? The guy he said, you have 10 minutes. You hear me saying we're almost out of time. So you hear my intent is I'm going to leave when it's closing, right? That's what that implies, right? And you hear me saying, I just need to identify this guy. You hear me advocate for the use of my devices under the ADA. So none of that can be construed, and you hear me advocate for the First Amendment, like conducting a news story. So none of that can be construed as disruption. Like, I had lawful business in the public lobby.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it, of the defense. But then another part is, did they actually tell me to leave? And you can hear, like, you can go back and play it, slow it down, listen word for word. It's always an if then. If you don't stop using your wheelchair, like, then we're going to kick you out. You know, if you don't stop using your cane, then we're going to kick
basically
you
the
out.
same thing. If you don't
Right.
stop using your wheelchair,
Right.
camera.
So, yeah, so that's essentially what's going on there, and that's not legal, right? That's not a actual trespass warning given. So that's a big part of the trespass not being legal. Another one is who was authorized to tell me to leave, supposing that they did. Like, and we would say that they didn't, because it's very clear none of them actually told me to leave.
Yep.
But none of them identified themselves as an authorized person to be able to do that. Like, whether it be in court, like whether it be for their testimony in court or from the actual event itself, like we don't have any of them identifying themselves as such a person that has the authority to do trespass on behalf of the county. So that's a big issue with the trespass. And then another, probably the most damning is Boyce, like in his quote unquote legal status as an officer, because he was a private security guard working for a private company who hires private police officers. So
can't go hands on. It's observing.
Well, so no, they can, if they are in fact qualified to do so, if they are in fact licensed to do so. Now that has yet to come out in court, whether or not that was the case for this guy, whether or not he was licensed or.
But I remember at one point you even asked him, "Are you threatening me with arrest?" And he says, "No, I'm not threatening you at all."
Yeah.
It's like,
So
what?
Nobody's threatening
so
you.
essentially the situation
Nobody's
is
threatening you.
Yeah, if you just back up and like recap the situation is disabled vet goes to ask about mental health services, is accosted by staff who wouldn't identify himself. Disabled vet tries to identify the person who accosted him, try to enlist other people who work there to help. Nobody would work. They doubled and tripled down on the harassment and I'd say 14th Amendment violation of Equal Protections Clause, and ultimately physically attacking, assaulting, causing another brain injury.
They committed crimes.
So they threw me in a wheelchair to finish out the thing. They threw me in a wheelchair, sat me on my hands in a wheelchair, and left me there for hours. So we have a lawsuit pending on this case. And the attorney we have helping with that in federal court has reviewed like hours of video post what you guys have and what's been released on the Blind Justice channel. Yeah, we don't even have it, right? So because they haven't yet to release it. So he physically went there and took notes for hours after these guys wheeled me into the magistrate's office, left me unconscious in the magistrate's office, sitting on my handcuffed hands. And then they dumped me in the jail. The jailer, they stripped me out of my street clothes, put me in a jumper, still unresponsive. The magistrate freaked out because of all the phone calls from you guys. And then he reversed that. He said, let's just kick him out of here. Let's not deal with it. So they put me back in street clothes, put me back in the wheelchair, wheeled me back to the magistrate's office. And the lawyer's like, hey, this was the craziest thing is that on camera, the magistrate says, I'm releasing you to your own recognizance, and like just stuffs the paperwork in my bag and then orders him to wheel me outside and leave me out. Like they dumped me outside somewhere.
And you were unconscious this whole time?
The whole time. Yeah. So,
wow.
So that's the basis of the lawsuit is all of that. Yeah. So,
crazy.
Camera.
Yeah. So essentially whoever is the first to go to the magistrate to press charges wins. And if you're the one that knocks somebody out and you're part of the club where you have access to the magistrate through any door you want, not just the public side, you're going to beat the person there because you have them and you've kidnapped them, right? Like you have your victim, you say, oh, this guy is the guy that committed a crime. I'm going to put charges on this guy right here that I've knocked out because he's the bad guy, right? Because if you otherwise, because I think
I just couldn't believe how there were so many people in there and nobody like questioned anything that they were doing to you. It's like,
Yeah,
what
some of them just stood
the-
back and watched.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
You got that video?
Yeah, I have it if y'all want me to share it. The Boyce's
Yeah.
body camera. It's
yeah. Do you want to put it in the private chat and then I can just pull it up?
I can do it.
Actually, she can present probably
Oh,
on
can she?
that way.
Okay,
she
yeah.
can- yeah.
Yeah, if you can present it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Let me add it to the stage. That
All
way
right.
she can spit and everything when it gets to the point that you want to talk about it, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump it ahead because it was they played it in court, so the prosecutor started it. The Voice's body camera mic over here on the right side.
Can you go ahead and make it big?
I can. Better?
Yeah. There we go. Full screen.
Pause a second. So right now, the sheriff's deputy has come out because Mike had come in to ask to speak to a disability access coordinator again, because I think she told you to come back and check in, but I'd have to review
At
it
the courthouse.
at the courthouse. And so he's talking to the sheriff's deputy over here on the side, and she brought him some kind of paper to fill out, which isn't really the point of the video. Boyce is over here watching, hoping that he's going to get to do something. We're going to jump ahead because this is actually on our channel if you want to watch Mike's
You can
footage of
hear
this part.
him jangle his handcuffs
Quite a few. Oh,
while
on this one.
while he's lurking.
So he'd love to go hands on again. What a
Yeah.
Well, so
Oh.
this is before. This is a few days
Sadist.
before he actually threw me with him.
Yeah,
Okay.
January 31st.
So he was antsy to do it from the beginning.
Oh yeah, and he's back here. So I don't know how much to play. Like play it where he starts being loud.
Yeah,
So you can hear him talking. Because he's gonna stomp off in a second because.
Really, what you want his.
What, you want to hang out with me now? You want to hang out with me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Boyce was out in the breezeway. Mike's trying to leave.
There you go. It's okay, Mike. No one's tracking your movements.
Oh, gross.
Hang outside. Wait on him? I have no fucking paperwork. I don't know what Sergeant Gilchrist went. I don't know what Sergeant. Yeah, that chain. She went around here. I think she's on the phone. Just if he doesn't want to stop live streaming, he has to go. That's it. That's all you have to tell him is he has to go. He doesn't go. He's going for second degree trespassing. I'm done for the day.
The permit says he cannot record. He's recording. He's got to go.
So I just need anybody here from the county to tell him he needs to go because he's still live streaming. He says, hell no, he's going in cuffs. End of story.
Yeah, we just had somebody call the clerk's office complaining about seeing the live stream.
Oh, yeah.
So y'all know.
Yeah, see, it's gonna be going down. So he has to go. I have no idea what she's on. That's what's so hard. It just tell him he has to go. He doesn't want to go. Second degree trespass. I've been through this with the magistrates enough time. He'll understand that. Damn it! Now he's gonna leave. No, don't let him leave. Don't leave. Don't you leave. No. You ain't gonna stir this shit up and leave, you bastard. You're gonna come back. You're gonna fucking go to jail today. That's all I need is one person to be like, okay, well, you gotta go. No, fuck that. Oh. And I will put his ass in the fucking floor today.
Wow.
Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good Boyce, everybody. Alfonso Boyce.
And
Charges-
you know they didn't want to release that. They
Charges
did
still
not want to
pending.
release that.
They still actually technically haven't. He played it in court. He hasn't sent us the video, like because we don't know how much of that was cut out. We don't know what he said before or after that. Like we don't have any. I don't think we really have anything from the prosecution regarding Brady, right? They didn't,
Directly?
yeah, they didn't actually fulfill the judge's order
Nope, we've
to
asked.
give me, all kinds of stuff, like his records, whether or not this guy was a cop, and all that stuff. Like we don't have any of that from the prosecution. So the
Mhm.
prosecution, they're just doing it blindly, mainly because he was a hire, right? He's a security guard hired by the county. So essentially, they're trying to protect the county from the lawsuit that we have filed against them. So that's
Miss Justice, what's the title of that? Because we've got people asking for links to the videos.
That video is from my drive. I have to find.
Okay,
If you
okay.
go to the Guilford County playlist, there's 2 videos in that playlist that are focused on Alfonso Boyce's like Tangled Web, or Oh What a Tangled Web We Weave, or something. And it's going to go through. It goes through and points out how many times he lied in that hearing and different things. I believe that video is in one of those 2 videos. I just didn't want to scrub those whole videos to figure out exactly the timestamp, so I just grabbed my
Okay. And you said
Okay.
Guilford County
the Guilford
playlist?
County. Hmm.
Yeah. Either
Okay.
way, that was just egregious. I mean, he wanted you.
Oh,
And he got you a couple of days later, or a few days later.
it was like 4 or 5 days later. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why he was already gloving up before he came in the room, and he didn't even ask questions. Like he
didn't care. He didn't
he
care.
decided.
He wanted to arrest you, and he did. And he and he did more than that too.
Yeah.
That's just horrendous.
Mm.
Yeah, that video actually right there got me as a subscriber to your channel, Blind Justice, and I've been watching ever since. And I know that you guys haven't put out a lot until recently. I mean, I don't remember how many months it's been, but you guys hadn't
like a
put
year off.
anything out for a while. Yeah. So
Yeah, I took like a year. I stopped doing it for like a year, and then we had issues at the vet center locally that I shared, and then I picked up trying to finish off the Rockingham County video series within the last few weeks, I think, and that was about a year gap. So
yeah, I watched all 4 of them today.
really? Yeah.
So you guys should watch that series. It's very interesting as well.
Yeah,
You guys have been through so much over the past several years here that's just like, and every one of them are just egregious how they're treating disabled people with disabilities.
If you want to watch this, one of the playlists that has a little bit of closure, if you're wanting closure, I would recommend the Wake County, not Wake Forest, Wake County series, because that one actually went all the way through trial for that situation, and he was found not guilty of trespass on what used to be the North Carolina School of the Blind. So that's a whole interesting story that he took a wrong turn, and then weeks later we find out someone charged him with trespassing on airport property, and we had to figure out what that was about. He had to go to court multiple times, and we discovered that the property in question was actually used to be, ironically, you can't make these things up, it used to be the North Carolina School of the Blind that he was actually standing on, and that's what they charged the blind man with trespassing.
Oh my God.
He took a turn, one turn too early, and got directions, and then went on about his way. Like there was, that was anyway, but that one's got a little bit of closure. It finished. That's not still pending or anything. But the Guilford County and the Rockingham County cases are still pending. Like they're still pursuing these frivolous, vindictive charges 4.5 years later, whatever it is now.
Yeah. And this is happening to everyone across the nation in the 1A community. They're frivolous, typical charges, trespassing. They've even done stalking charges on our 1A community. They've done, of course, the disturbing the peace charges.
Well, it goes back to that intro video you played, like the concept of the scales of justice. Like it's purely punitive. Like what?
Yep.
What kind of restoration is there? Like who is the victim? Like, go back to that video we just broke down with the health department. Where's the victim? Like,
you. If you
Yeah.
can't recognize the victim, you're it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and this is what's going on all across the country with everyone that picks up a camera and wants to film their government. And it's egregious, and there needs to be an end to it. There needs to be a stop to it. We need change on this, like now, like yesterday. And mainstream media is starting to begin to cover these types of stories, but it's still very rare. And mainstream public doesn't get this information. They don't know that this is what's going on within their government. Where they're, what do we call it again? It's the type of prosecution. It's
Malicious.
malicious prosecution.
Mhm.
Malicious prosecution is happening to everyone in the 1A community on a regular basis, and the process is the punishment. They're trying to run you out of money. They're trying to run you out of resources with all of these trumped up charges, and it goes on for years in some cases. And in some cases, our guys end up in prison, and they're in prison now. A lot of 1A auditors are in prison. The justice system is not just most of the time.
I think the other term, other than malicious prosecution, the other term is business as usual.
Yeah, business as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, system's not broken, it's fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think an important distinction here. I think Big Mike Audits there is pointing out that it's not just the 1A community isn't special. I think for the two instances that we're specifically speaking of, Rockingham County and Guilford County, these were not 1A community events. Like this wasn't, we're going out to do a First Amendment audit. Like I think I don't know of any situation that has resulted in a charge. None of that has
Okay.
been, those two, that wasn't the intention. We weren't doing a First Amendment audit. We're just living
there's a
life.
First
But it was
Amendment
the camera. It was the camera.
There's a First Amendment element at play for sure.
Of course, yes.
But that's not the purpose, the sole purpose, or
It wasn't the news purpose. It wasn't, you didn't walk in to test to see if they were going
Right,
to
right.
honor and uphold and defend the First Amendment or to try.
Right.
Like, it wasn't
This was your own personal things that you were trying to get done, and you just happened to be filming.
Mhm.
So you weren't intending to do a 1A audit, but it turned out that way.
Right.
Oh, it was definitely information that was going to be disseminated via news media,
Sure.
but it wasn't like to try to provoke or test or whatever, toe a line.
Right.
It was, yeah.
Well, and I don't believe that is what 1A is about, provoking or just testing. I think they're journalists digging. They're investigative journalists. They're trying to prove out.
It's a pretty broad net, so I wouldn't
It
discount.
is.
There absolutely are elements that do try to push and toe the line, provoke, like. Like
there are certain,
and they'll self-identify as such, right? They'll even say like, "This is a
Yeah.
bait car. I am baiting police. I'm going
Yeah.
to," So we can't discount that absolutely is a section of the videos on the internet and intention and avenue. Like there's plenty of approaches to finding out what the government is doing and then reporting on it, like supposedly covered by freedom of the press clause in the First Amendment. But yeah, I would say it's pretty much infinite. You can do that in an infinite amount of ways.
Yeah. And like Big Mike does point out also is it's not, like he said, it's not just the 1A community. It is everybody. The 1A community, though, are the ones who are highlighting it. Now, if we could just highlight it to where the normal everyday person who says, well, they must be criminals, that's why they get treated that way, can see the mistakes that are made. If we could, somehow get it out and get these people to open their eyes, that's what we need to do.
Yes and no. Like I go back and forth on this personally, like with my assessment of just personal actions, and then like what these videos overall do, what this genre is, what the people that go out and do it, like try to. Is there any measurement? Is there any movement in the direction that we would like now versus 10 years ago? And like, not really. There's different case law. So what?
There's
You know,
tiny baby steps that have been made.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think there's been any march of progress in the system at all. I think there's different, you can call them baby steps if you want, you can call them benchmarks. You can say there's case law in this circuit or this state or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like the cops
Still hasn't really affected real change.
The cops don't read
reality.
case law. They don't actually go to the law library. They don't do any of this stuff. Like the DAs don't care. They have to, they still have a 98% conviction rate in pretty much every jurisdiction or higher, right? So it doesn't matter. The system is not broken. It is fixed. Like it is the way it's intended to run, and it's going to stay that way until it's replaced, until it's gone. Like there is no more system. Like, so does that mean that you don't fight? Does it mean that you don't do it? No. Like, can you affect change personally? Potentially, right? Potentially. At what cost, right? So we're 4.5 years down the road from this stuff. It's cost financially, like, you know, over $100,000 or whatever it is. They still have, you know, targets on my head, you know, for the state of North Carolina, and bounties on my head, right? Should they kidnap me, like it's in the tune of $120,000 that they would require ransom to release me from their dungeon. So at what level personally can you achieve quote unquote success or justice? I don't know if you actually can with the system, right? So can you extract something from the encounter, right? Can you try to extract something from the encounter? Can you try to get some kind of personal restitution or recover some of the damage that has been done to you? Maybe you might be able to get some kind of financial something. You might be able to get some kind of, they fired the guy, you know, whatever, you know. But
in other words, that scale that you were talking about, right?
Is it going to actually balance the scale? Is it going to heal you from the trauma? Is it going to heal you from the wounds that they've inflicted upon you and your family? Like, no, right? So, yeah. Can you get there with support from getting enough attention on it? Yes. Is it just the 1A community? No. People are abused constantly, every single day in every municipality across the country.
It's for everyone. Yeah.
Right. But people, because of that, because it's so prolific, because it's so widespread, it's diluted. Does that make any sense? Like, it's happening all the time. If everybody posts their encounter with the road pirate, if everybody posts their encounter with the court system, with the DA, if everybody actually fought,
there'd be nothing else to watch.
Exactly. It's there's so much already, you know. People already are filtering out, you know, which one they have click-through rates, which ones they're going to watch all the way to the end, because they want to see blind justice get slammed to the ground. They want to see, you know, somebody get tased or pepper sprayed or shot.
They want to see the most egregious.
Right. They want to see the dog biting the baby leg. They want to see the insane stuff. And so that's the diet. You know, it's the cop fear porn that people are trying to get to that. They just have to keep going to more horrendous.
They want to just see more trauma dumping. It's like, it's
so that's
ridiculous.
where we are, right? That's the actual environment in which we are. That's where we currently live, is in this weird cyberspace, like interacting with our physical space. And I don't think in that environment we can actually move the needle with the system. Like, the system's not going to flinch at that. People are not going to get rallied enough to actually protest and call. Can you make immediate change? Like, if you're Grande Johnson and you have, you know, a live stream of however many he has, James Freedom, whenever he does his live stream, and gets a municipal building, like them acting crazy because he has however many thousand people live, he's going to have a fraction of that, a percentage of that, a small percentage is going to call that local place, and they're going to immediately react. So, you know, maybe we shouldn't mess with this guy. We should just give him his records request and let him go.
Sure.
Right. So
that's what we call baby steps, baby change.
Right. But what kind of change is that? That's really just them saying we don't want to. That's not change. That's the immediate situation. They say, we don't want our phones ringing off the hook. Here, take your paperwork. We'll file your thing. We'll get you your stuff. Bye. Right.
Yep.
So, and what did they learn? They learned that when that guy comes in we treat him good
That individual.
because that specific individual has a horde of people that are keeping an eye on him, and we don't want to make them angry. It doesn't change the fact
But everybody else, we can
that
still
comes
treat.
in, right?
Yep.
Without, whoever comes in, they
Yep.
get abused, and
Yep.
it's
Or they learn we're gonna have guys with chains and guns standing by.
well, yeah.
Should
that's
we see
true.
the same guy come back?
That's
And
true.
instead of giving me his paperwork, we're gonna
Mhm.
try to trip him up with some kind of legal nonsense so
Yep.
that we can throw him to the ground and then kidnap him. Like,
Yep.
so
And then
It's-
put him through the process and break him and destroy his life.
yeah.
Mhm.
So and so for the last 3 years that I've been involved in as a supporter of the 1A community, I have been trying to get all of these people that are auditing or just every different type of genre, right? They're all interconnected. We need all of them to get together and organize to actually really truly try to create change within our government, within the courts, within the police departments, and all three branches of government, and also try to use the fourth estate, the mainstream medium, to expose this and get people to actually get involved, to change how this system is run and how it works. And you can't do it if you just have people out there doing the clicks and views thing, and they're agitators, because that gives the 1A community negative connotations there. And it's like, I don't know how to do this, but we've got to start somewhere, and we have to try. We have to try to change what's happening. And that's all I know to say about it. That's the whole purpose of this channel, is to try to help.
I think if you're focused on trying to change the system to serve the people, you're beating your head against a wall, and you're not going to get what you want. You may get in some spaces, a nicer system, but its intention is still to feed off the people. But we can promote change in the hearts and the minds of the people who are watching and who are paying attention and who are going, wait a minute, I thought government was here to help me. Why is it treating this person like that? Why are these people who supposedly work for, protect and serve, throwing this guy on the ground? Like, maybe it helps shift the thinking from the people that are just watching, and I realize they're kind of inoculated against it, and a lot of people aren't thinking at all. But I think that is more likely than changing a system that is running exactly as intended, and will simply chameleon to try to blend back in if it gets too much attention, and then rise up and try to strike later. I mean, the system is what it is.
The people in the system, pulling levers in the system, trying to control the system, they want to recruit everybody into the system. They want everybody to be dependent on the system.
Oh yeah.
That way they have more power and more control over you.
Well, so then they can actually use the terms like us and them. Like you keep using the term their government, our government. Like, I don't have a government, dude. Like, government doesn't exist. It's just a concept. There are buildings and there are people and there are guns and there are cars and there are cages, and these things exist, right?
Yeah.
But government is a concept. I don't affiliate with any government. And
I tend to agree with that ideal.
but then you also say
the government does put their force on you, so it does exist.
Well, the government doesn't exist, but people exist, right?
People within
exist.
the government. Yeah.
Well, people try to call on this name of government like it's a deity, like it gave them power to go and kick in your door and shoot your dog and kidnap your nephew who happens to be there because his name's on a piece of paper, and it's actually not him. It's somebody else that has the same name as him, right? And this happens all the fucking time. So government doesn't exist, but these people do, and they just have this mind virus that government is something that they have to have. But then community, like you keep using the term like 1A community, that's a euphemism as well. Like 1A community does not exist. It's not a thing, right? It just doesn't, man. Like we have people that reach out.
We're just trying to make it a thing.
Well, I don't know if it ever can be. like I truly don't think it can ever be a community. We can create another term, we can use something else, like, but the community is something where there is like, it's close to home. It's where you live. It's when shit hits the fan, you can call on your neighbor. You don't have to call on your neighbor. They're aware like that somebody's over at your house trying to break in. They know, and they're running them off, right? They're helping you out because they're a community. We don't have that. Like, that doesn't exist.
I think there's pockets.
Just like there's no blind community, just like there's no deaf
Right.
community, just like there's no LGBTQ community. Like, these are just euphemisms to get people to try to get some kind of affiliation and participation points of like feeling good. Like, oh, I'm part of this thing that's bigger than me, when it doesn't actually exist, right? When rubber meets the road, when shit hits the fan, like, these people are nowhere to be found, right? They're so
Yeah.
so yeah, I think
I've
it's
seen that. I understand what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and I think we still need to keep trying to create community. I do. It might be futile.
Yeah.
Well, I think
But
one
I
thing
think
to
it's
keep in mind
worthy to try.
with that is the diversity of what you're discussing. As we touched on it earlier with this so-called 1A community and the huge spectrum that covers, right? I mean, that's the whole point. It's freedom, right? And so you're going to have some people that do things that you don't like. That I see
absolutely.
drama and backbiting and bickering and nonsense, and you have these people who are ready to call the cops on these people, and they're all supposedly in 1A community, and it's not helpful, right? And that's kind of missing the whole idea of freedom. And but you have to be willing to let these people in their little groups do their little thing and
do it the way they do it.
Live and let live.
Well, in a sense, it's kind of like redundant or erroneous, like, to say 1A community,
Well, that's
because
true.
like, well, if you actually believe the premise of the Constitution that rights are inalienable, that everybody
They come
has
from
them
God,
regardless.
not the government.
If
They don't
that's
come
the
from
premise,
government.
if that's the foundation, if that's the presupposition, the underpinning
Mm.
to the 1A community, then what are you saying? Just people? You're just humans?
Well, yeah.
You're just
Human
talking about
humaning.
humans. Okay, cool. Humanity. We can just say humanity. We don't need
I
we don't
dig
need the
it.
euphemism of 1A community, right?
I
Because
would-
once you start doing that and trying to say, oh no, 1A community is this particular thing, we're going to define it. Now we have this us and them. Oh, you get to be in the community if you act according to these guidelines. If you say this, if you are outing each other or whatever, then you're not in the community.
Everybody has their own style of how
Right.
they practice their freedom. And I agree that they should be able to practice their freedom any way they want to. According to the Constitution, they have that right. And I believe in the Constitution. I swore an oath to it when I was 17. So that's the most important thing to really understand and realize, that Constitution was supposed to put limits on the government, not on the people, on the government. You know, the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, those are all rights. And the First Amendment are individual rights: freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble. You know, why am I drawing a blank? I know these 5.
Redress?
Redress grievances.
You have that petition, right? Yeah, so you have redress, assembly, petition, press, speech.
And religion. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, religion, not redress. Religion, assembly, petition, press, speech.
Yeah. And those are the 5 those 5 elements. 1A, First Amendment. And they're the most important freedoms that we have. So a 1A community are people that believe in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, and then they also believe in the Second, the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, all the way up.
Well, if that's how we're defining it, then you guys can officially kick me out, because I don't believe in those things.
You don't believe in the Constitution?
I don't. No.
Well, it doesn't. We're not using it. So, yeah.
So do I believe that such a thing exists, that some people wrote some words on a paper at some point and then they call it the Constitution? Sure. I'll grant that. Sure. It's nothing for me to grant that. Do I believe in the principles supposedly that are the foundations for the document. No, I don't think I believe that either, because there's a whole bunch of smuggling going on. There's a whole bunch of things that get snuck in to the premise, and like the concept of rights. I don't think rights exist. Rights they're simply a construct. So we can act as if people have rights. We can treat people as if they have rights. So essentially, we can treat it like a metaphorical truth. So an example of that would be treat all guns as if they are loaded, right? Well, we know for a fact that not every single gun is loaded, but metaphorically, we can just say that every gun is loaded, and it'd be better if everybody acted as if every gun was loaded. So that's a good metaphorical truth. Similarly, rights don't exist. Like you can't observe a right, you can't point to a right in our reality, right? They're just concepts. And so I don't think we actually have them. We make them up. And that's why you don't really have the same rights depending on where you're standing in the world. It just depends on whoever has the most power and is willing to use it against you. And I would even push back on the concept that the Constitution was initially framed to limit government against the people.
Well, that's what the Bill of Rights was all about.
Well, that comes later. But if you go to the articles, the whole point of it is to establish government and and the nature of government is to consolidate power, to assert control against people. So the Bill of Rights after.
And if you want to go even back when they were drafting it, half the people that went to that convention left because they said we just fought a revolution over
exactly. They didn't want government, right?
They didn't want it. They didn't want anything to do with it.
Jefferson's quote about like renewing the tree of liberty with the blood of patriots and tyrants, like from generation to generation. So there's like they knew what they were creating. They knew they were creating a monster. They knew that what they were doing had to be kept in check, or it would be, it's going to cost blood of our offspring to fight this thing. But they created the monster anyway, right? Yeah. They created the monster anyway, and that's
and then they put the Bill of Rights in there, last minute, thinking that they were doing the right thing, and or at least trying to appease people that they were doing the right thing. But it's just
we have different dates, right? The amendments have different dates.
Well, and then the judiciary bastardized it in 1803 when they had Marbury versus Madison. Yeah. So they bastardized the Constitution from almost day one. After it was ratified. So no, I know all the history on that. I agree with you too. And it's unfortunate because if we actually used and went by and lived by that Constitution without it being
I agree with you. If we could actually snap a finger like Thanos glove and Infinity Gauntlet and just be like, bam, everybody is now in compliance with the Constitution, we'd have a more fair.
We'd have a nirvana.
We'd have a more fair, a more just, a more free society. Mm-hmm. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that society is perfectly
possible.
It's perfectly moral or just or free, right? I think that society, even the one dictated to the letter of the law of the Constitution, is the best that we can do as a species. I think we can do much better than that.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right too on that. But it's still the best concept that I know about. The Constitution. I thought those guys were pretty wise. They knew what people would be able to would swallow as far as forming a government. But we've never used it.
Just to check the pulse of the show, like I don't know the time that you guys are expecting, or even the direction of the show. We've kind of been flowing around different places.
Yeah, we did. We kind of just wandered off. Yeah. No, I think. I think we could probably end the stream here, and everybody would be satisfied with it. And we can get into philosophy another time too.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think your story, your guys' what you've gone through needs to be exposed. I think people need to go to Blind Justice, subscribe, like, share, watch videos, like them, share them. I think the more exposure that we can get, that means the more help that you guys will get in what's going on in your lives, and hopefully help. And that's what we want to do, is try to help. That's why we had you on the panel today and had you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You bet. Having said all that, Nikki, do you have anything that you wanted to bring up before we end the stream?
Well, I do have something very, very important. At least it is to me.
Okay.
Mrs. Justice, I would like to thank you for
Absolutely.
all the help that you're giving Blind Justice, whether it's just being there, being supportive of him, helping him with everything that he needs your help with, and also for helping him to bring all of this out to everybody's attention. But
It's
you know,
amazing
that
that you're helping him share this story. It's awesome.
Thanks.
to me, the sharing of the story isn't what's important. It's the fact that you stand by him and support him. And I
He's
mean,
my favorite person.
I mean, so I want to thank you for that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And then again, I'll thank our chat for being here and taking time out of their day. Hopefully you guys have Wanda, I need to quit watching the chat when I'm trying to talk, because people come up with things like, we don't want to see naked Justice.
What?
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Guys. Anyway, it's been nice. I do appreciate you guys taking your time and being here with us at Blind Justice, Mrs. Justice. I want to thank the chat once again for, sitting here with us while we wander through whatever rabbit holes, tangents that we end up going.
I've been trying to keep peeking at them every now and then. I look down. That's why I was doing that, to eavesdrop on it.
And one last thing before I go ahead and hit the outro. Yay, no drama today. Hopefully no drama again. All right. I'm going to go ahead and play the outro. It's really long. You guys backstage, if you want to stay with us and we can discuss afterwards, we can, or whatever you decide to do. And here we go. The outro here. Let me make sure I got the right one. There we go.
In the heart of the Vigilance Committee, where the sun sets low and the spirits run free, we stand together, hand in hand, watching over the sacred land. We're the keepers of the flame. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll never be the same. Through the trials and the tests, we'll always give our best. Through the storms and the darkest night, we'll shine our light, we'll stand and fight. For the ones we love, for the ones we've lost. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll bear the cost. We're the keepers of the flame. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll never be the same. Through the trials and the tests, we'll always give our best. Through the storms and the darkest night, we'll shine our light, we'll stand and fight. For the ones we love, for the ones we've lost. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll bear the cost. We're the keepers of the flame. Vigilance Committee, where the sun sets low and the spirits run free. We'll stand together, hand in hand, watching over this sacred land.